Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I will be reviewing my experience on board Scoot from Singapore to Trivandrum and the return route. On the return route we faced some technical difficulties and I'll explain to you how Scoot handled it and what I think of them. So my first flight to Hyderabad from Singapore already got off to a bad start as the plane was 2 hours delayed due to a technical issue. We were made to wait at the gate for a long time and weren't quite sure what time the flight was supposed to leave. You could see after a while that people got really restless, but finally, after about an hour and a half to 2 hours delay, we were able to board the aircraft. I was seated in 1F, which is the front row of this Airbus A320. I've made a video on this already previously, so go check that out. I'll leave a link in the description.
Please stay assigned seat and fasten your.
So on the return leg, the flight was originally supposed to depart at 23:15. So at around 8 o'clock, as we were about to leave to the airport, we got a text message from Scoot saying that the flight will be delayed for 2 hours. So there was actually no rush to get to the airport. And finally, when we did arrive at 10 p.m., the check-in had opened and we got checked in. As we headed over to the gate after passport control, we saw that on the monitor there was another delay, this time till 2 a.m. So here's where things start to get interesting. As we finished boarding the aircraft, we took off as per usual at around 2:30 a.m. So this time the delay was about just over 3 hours. As we took off, we could see that things were not as they were supposed to be, as the seatbelt sign had been on for over 30 minutes now, which is normally much more than what you'd expect. We could feel a bit of vibrations coming from the right engine, but nobody thought much of it. After a while, the captain came on and said the following. So essentially what the captain does is he comes over the PA and he makes an announcement similar to this. He says that we have picked up a bird in our right engine and that while there is no major damage, we will be having to head back to Trivandrum for precautionary reasons. At this point, I don't think there was much panic in the aircraft. I think people were aware that it was just a bird strike, which is quite common in aviation. And it felt like a smooth sort of atmosphere. Nobody was really starting to panic. And then the flight attendant made an announcement saying we'll be heading back.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have started our final approach into Trivandrum. Please put your seatbelt upright, fasten your seatbelts, and secure tray table. Your window shades are fully open. Please ensure your mobile phone and all portable electronic devices are in flight mode. All carry items, including laptop and notebook, can be stored in the pick-up compartment or under the seat in front of you. Headphones or earphones are not allowed to be worn during taxi, takeoff, and landing. As final reminder, please know what nearest emergency exit are located. The nearest exit may be behind you. Thank you.
So as you saw, landing was perfectly normal, nothing out of the ordinary. I have over here the route that we took. So as you can see, we took off over here, and then we sort of flew around as per usual, and then around here, roughly over here, we could see there was something wrong with the aircraft, and that's when we had to make the decision to turn around. So we made several loops to then head back to Trivandrum. I don't think, even while we were landing, I don't think anyone was worried. I think the major issue was what people were going to do, especially with regards to where they're going to stay, accommodations, when they can finally go back to Singapore. So what the captain did was he landed the plane and we brought it to a maintenance gate, a remote gate outside the main terminal. And what he did is he came out of the aircraft and he sort of made an announcement to all of us saying that so what happened, that we were struck, we had a bird strike to the right engine. While there was no major damage caused, they're gonna have to wait till further inspection by the engineers who were not just arriving. It is important to note that these local engineers were actually really, really good. They were on top of things and they actually did whatever they could in the quickest time possible.
Main secret will we sort this matter out the engineers and I will update you once we have further information on whether we can continue the flight. We will seek your kind understanding and patience. Thank you.
So after that, we didn't receive any updates for quite a while now. We were expecting that we would probably have to stay the night here in Trivandrum. At around 5:30 a.m., people were still on board the aircraft trying to figure out what to do. So finally, at around 6 a.m., we were told that this aircraft cannot make the journey to Singapore and that we would have to stay the night as we would fly in a repatriation aircraft. So what we got to know after was that the 3 hours spent idle on the ground from around 3 to 6 a.m. was time for Scoot to find hotels and accommodation for us, since it was early morning of the 30th of December. You can understand how busy hotels would be with regards to New Year's coming up. What many of us thought was Scoot was spending that time just trying to fix the aircraft, trying to get us back in the air, but I think many of us knew that we wouldn't be flying. I think the captain knew that as well, but we weren't given that information, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Here you can see the massive queue that people have to wait to receive accommodation vouchers. People apparently have to wait up to 3 hours in the airport. So after we collected our baggages, we headed over to the accommodation counter. Since we were traveling with a young child and we got a bit lucky with our placement in the queue, we were able to receive our accommodation vouchers quite quickly and we headed over to the nearby hotel. There were about 3 to 4 hotels that people were put into. Some people choosing to head over to a relative's house or a friend's house, while the majority of people stayed at hotels. The accommodation was not bad. While there was only one large king size bed for 4 of us, we were able to manage, and it was only for about half a day. Scoot then spoke to the manager of the hotel and told the manager to inform everyone that there would be a repatriation flight. This would be before the regular flight in the evening, so this would be around 8 p.m. So this is a look at the hotel room. It's obviously not the biggest, but it was definitely good, and we were able to enjoy a bit of relaxation. After that, we headed over on this large bus, everyone from the hotel. Nothing much to say about the bus, it was just a short ride to the airport. So one thing you should keep in mind is that they don't exactly tell you honestly what time the flight will be departing. We were told that 2050 local time would be the time of departure. This kept increasing and increasing. After checking in at 6:30 p.m., we had nothing to do until the flight actually departed at around 10:40 p.m. So essentially we had about a 2-hour plus delay. When we were told that the flight would be landing shortly, I used my flight radar app to find the repatriation flight, which was only halfway into arriving at Toronto. So that's another thing to watch out for and keep in mind. So we were then stuck in the bus for quite a while before the doors opened. Not sure what was going on, but it definitely wasn't a pleasant experience, especially since a lot of us were worried that we couldn't even get in the first flight. With a lot of engineers looking inside the engines, we thought there's no way this can happen to us a second time. Thankfully and luckily there was nothing wrong with the aircraft and we were able to board it. This was actually one of the newer Boeing 737 aircrafts. The seats were very comfortable, much better than the predecessor. Overall, though a lot of us weren't focused on that, a lot of us were focused on just heading back to Singapore, getting home safely. Here's a quick look at the seat before takeoff. So a quick look at the seat. The tray table is pretty normal. The seat pocket was placed above the tray table, which is something I'm not a big fan of. I'd rather have it down there where my hands are right now. Obviously, people were given the same seats as the previous flight, and to be honest, I prefer this aircraft. It was a much spacious feel, except for the coffee stains on my tray table. That was one downside. So everyone was given a complimentary bag of food consisting of chips, chocolate, and a bottle of water. On top of that, I decided to buy myself dinner, but make sure you keep in mind that Scoot's food is not exactly good, and it's quite very, very expensive. So that was a flight. We got back home on the 31st of December at around 6:30 in the morning. What were my thoughts on it? I think there were few pros, few cons. Obviously, it's not an ideal situation for anyone to be in, but there are a few things that went well, a few things that didn't go well. The first big thing that I felt was really good was the hotel accommodation. I felt Scoot did a very good job providing both breakfast and lunch. They said we were going to get 3 meals, but dinner would have been served at around 7 p.m. in the hotel. We had to leave to the airport at 6. Nobody gave us any food inside of the airport. There were some snacks, but I don't think that would count as dinner. Uh, on top of that, I feel that the entire sort of way that we were kept on the aircraft for 3 hours while Scoot tried to make arrangements without telling us. We were in that frame of mind that Scoot was still trying to fix the aircraft, but unfortunately that wasn't to be. They were just spending the time trying to find accommodation for us. So we should have been told in advance that there was no way this plane would be able to fly again, and they would be finding us accommodation to give us a little bit of peace of mind and to contact friends, family, relatives, etc. Another thing was the people that had to stand in the airport queue to receive accommodation for 3 hours until about 9 a.m. I don't think that is fair at all. While yes, there may be a shortage of rooms, there has to be a better way to do this, because people would be hungry, thirsty, they'd be tired. Obviously, if you don't have rooms, they should find a different way to do it. Maybe make people sit in the airport, wait for a bit until they find a room, not keep them waiting in the line for very, very long. And lastly, and this is one big thing, it's not to do with the entire situation, but it's to do with Scoot's food. Just as a sort of warning, never ever buy the food on Scoot. You pay about 10 to 12 Singapore dollars for a small rectangular box, very small, that doesn't taste great at all. But, however, there are a few big pros to take away from this. I particularly felt that while this whole thing went down, the captains were very professional. The cabin crew were very, very good. They kept everyone reassured. I know it'd be really tough for them as well to be working 2 long shifts, but the way they handled it was much better than expected. Obviously, they were a bit tired. We could see it. A lot of us could see they were tired as well, but they kept a professional face throughout, and I want to commend them for that. Lastly, before I end the video, please do consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for new content. I'll be trying to upload much more. Hope you're staying safe during this coronavirus situation. Obviously, I have some flights I have to edit from before, and I will try to get them out as soon as I can. Until then, stay safe and happy flying.